So the pasture's pretty bare. We've been running goats on it this whole season. This is really more of a very small pen than a pasture, to be honest. But we did have Draco and the two boer bucks running with him, Smoke and Copper, in this field. But unfortunately, even though we've reinforced the fencing between Draco and Obi on the shared line, they're still fighting. So we're probably looking more and more, sorry for the wind, like we're gonna have to separate the big Kikos during the fall breeding season. So far we're not having that problem with the boars. Again though, the boars are younger. So here's Miss Lydia. You don't see her often on camera. So the girls are now getting access to this field, so at least gets utilized a little bit. You can see out there what's gonna be their pasture next year. Hi baby, did you lose them? Baby Nova. And there's her mom eating things. She's still got the crown of shame because she can't keep not getting her head stuck. Although, you've got it all twisted, honey. I'd like to know how you did that. Oh well. She keeps them on for about a week or two before I have to replace the duct tape. But yes, eventually that field is going to be their new pasture. It'll be lovely. They probably won't be able to overeat. Lydia must be in heat. They've both been very interested in her today. Now, Lydia is my fainter. You've probably seen her in other videos. She is not for breeding. She honestly serves as my herd matriarch for my boer goats. She kind of keeps the chaos down a bit. She hates when they fight, so she breaks it up a lot. I've seen Cara get shoved back by about 6 feet when she's angry at her. Sorry. Cara's my big old boer goat, so, you know, fainters, man, they've got the muscle. So that's Obi flirting with her, or Oberon is his full name. And there's Merlin over there, kind of interested. No, there's nothing wrong with his leg. We've looked at it. I've inspected the toes. I've inspected the leg. I've inspected up in. We think he probably pulled something, and he's just never got over it. But he can mount and breed, so that's what matters to us. And he doesn't seem to be in pain when we've tested the joint. Of course, they're both going to be a little excited now. But so Oberon has been sharing this particular fence line now for probably over a month with Draco since they got their horns locked together when they started fighting. Speaking of which, there's Draco and the boys. Draco does great with the boys. He doesn't fight them at all. Hey Goober, how you doing? Say hello. But unfortunately, yesterday Draco and Oberon started fighting on the fence again. See, look at that pretty little boy. Isn't he gorgeous? These are our two junior herd sires. They're up and coming. Copper hasn't bred anything yet. He was a little too young. Smoke is going to potentially be the main sire for this next year. What on earth? Boars. So you can see they're separated. Not by much, but it works. Now our plan is where Obi and Merlin are currently standing, we're going to have an aisle down to the field. So we'll have separation. It will push the bucks back more. It'll push the bucks back more away from the main herd. You'll be able to run the ladies in this field no matter what time of year it is. And we're going to plant a bunch of trees and bushes to help block lines of sight. We'll even have an airlock so that if we need to get in and out, or we need to pull somebody out for medicating or whatever, it'll be easier to handle them. So let's back up a bit. And it is very possible, like I was saying, that we might have to separate the Kikos every year. If they're going to react this strongly, they're both obviously trying to prove themselves as the patriarch, I guess, of their herd. This is the risk you run when you run any male animals. I know bulls can have the same issues. Same with stallions. There's got to be a top dog. Now, could we run into the same issue with our boar bucks? Yes, we could. Right now, Merlin is only 2.5. Not even, actually. It's a couple months short of 2.5. And he's very intimidated by Oberon. And it's possible because my boars all were brought in younger when my Kikos were established bucks, that the Kikos could always be in charge until they get old and decrepit someday. It's also possible it's just a Kiko thing. Or it's possible this will all fall apart and I will have bunches of fights, oh goodness, on my hands. But I will say my boar bucks seemed a lot more laid back. That is one of the criteria when I select them. I like to see that when I show up, they're pretty chill. I also love seeing that their sires, when I can, are pretty chill. That was a big sale point on Merlin, is both his sire and grandsire were very calm. Now, I mean, not saying they can't get worked up and get bucky, but when it came to their interactions with the people, they were very sweet. So, now I never met Smoke's parental units, but I did get the opportunity to see Copper's, and his dad seemed pretty friendly and chill. So, that was huge for us because his daddy is huge. There is a very good chance Copper could end up being my dominant buck for my boars because he's just going to be bigger, and bigger kind of dictates who's in charge. Yeah, Lydia's in heat. So you get to see this nonsense with the ladies who don't get bred. And that could be some of what's winding them up. It's hard to say. But we will figure it out. We'll get it sorted. We already have a third pen planned. That's going to be over in the Kiko area for breeding. So it'll be what is technically going to be our second breeding pen officially. Also a good pen to run bucklings in or anybody else as needed when you need to pull them out. So here's a lady who can't make up her mind. So you can see mad respect to these two. They're just like, yeah, we're not getting involved in any of that. But I'm gonna swing the camera around. Here's my two Kikos that I run with my boars, Astrid and her daughter Nova. These are my boar girls. So hopefully at least half of the kiddos in this screen are pregnant. Of course, they're going to walk away as I spin the camera. They're all doing really great. We're very impressed with how they're growing out. Considering they were triplets and they were bottle babies and just so many challenges they had when they were little, I'm extremely happy with where they're at. Are they the best that they could have been? Nah. But I'll take it. I got 3 beautiful girls. I've got patience to let them grow. They are still growing. So, let's see, we got some ant mounds. I'm trying not to step on them as I'm videoing here. It's kind of fun. I hope they're not active. Fire ants are a big problem here, and it's something that I'm still, after living here for about, gosh, what's it been? A little over 10 years now. Still learning to deal with it. Nydia's causing a riot of sorts. You know, very laid back version. So you can see Draco does great with the kids. They're not scared of him at all. He eats with them every day. I mean, he lets the baby get around him all the time and lets him get away with nonsense, which is good for Copper too. So he's very friendly, very inquisitive. He's doing great. He's growing like a weed. Draco's probably the best he's ever looked because he's getting the grain that the kids are getting to help grow him out. Do I grain my bucks? Yep. Do I hay my bucks? Have to. It's just a fact of life. They're in this tiny little pen. And there's not enough here in the fall. Ironically, in the summer, when we're having a good rainy season, there is enough grass there to keep up with them. That's always very impressive about Tennessee. But, well, I've rambled on enough. Just kind of wanted to show you the herd. And I'll let y'all go.